What's up, spooky people? So, I have the stories of these random staircases that apparently show up in the middle of national forests all over the world. But first, I do want to make a little announcement because things are kind of going to change. Weekly episodes are going to start coming out on Tuesdays, and which means early episodes will come out on Sunday. This schedule for weekly episodes is just easier for me because then I have the weekend to worry about the weekly episodes, and the bonus episodes for Patreons will come out on Friday. And because those don't have an early release day, I can then focus on those episodes during the week instead of trying to figure out how I'm going to record 2 episodes to come out one day after the other. So I'm redoing the schedule a little bit, and it'll be better. I promise. It'll be great. So this is going to be the last Friday for a weekly episode, and then you will have another weekly episode on Tuesday. Merry Christmas. Anyway, so I have stairs. Now, there isn't a lot on these stairs, I'm not going to lie. I personally have not seen these stairs, but I also have not been in a national forest in a way that like they're talking about in their stories. I don't go off path, and I don't go 40 miles deep into the woods. So I have never seen these stairs. But there's a first time for everything. Maybe I'll find one next week. I don't know. Well, I guess week after next. 5 more days. The countdown is real for school. Anyway, so there are several theories on why the stairs are there and who put them there. And a lot of them, or a lot of people say, logical things like they're nothing more than foundations left behind by long lost settlements, which argues the explanation on why more sturdy staircases could survive 200 years or more, and through all of the weather, while wood staircases would not be able to withstand any of that and would have rot and erosion, which then would make them unstable. Why you'd be walking up random stairs in the middle of the forest, I don't know. But here we are. Others believe they are not stairs, but a pulpit for a preacher holding some sort of dark intended gathering. Others say they could be a gateway to another dimension or even to hell. People have reported feeling unnerved and otherwise unwelcome in their presence and have never attempted to climb them. That's probably for the best. Let's not go to hell or another dimension. So the only thing that I could find on this dark priest theory, because, that's the one that doesn't really have an explanation. The others, okay, portal to hell, to another dimension. I feel like those are pretty self-explanatory. But what about the dark preacher pulpit thing? Like, that's just random to me. And I was trying to find whatever that story was or is, and I can't find it. But the only thing I can find is about the Loreto Chapel staircase in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And apparently these stairs are very, the word they used was bewildering. The chapel was officially completed in 1878. It is after the French missionary Jean-Baptiste Lamy. And he apparently dreamed of the chapel. And he was appointed to Santa Fe in 1850, so that is where it was built. The Santa Fe territory had been recently ceded to the United States at the end of the Mexican-American War in 1948, and Lamy had been serving as a missionary in the area of Ohio and Kentucky after being ordained as a priest in France in 1838. He went out west to New Mexico in the summer of 1851, and he began to recruit priests, nuns, and architects so that way they could grow the Christian faith inside this new territory. He was able to get 7 nuns from Kentucky, the Sisters of Loreto, and they responded in 1852 and went out to join him. And then 5 more sisters joined later that year. And then they opened up a school and they called it Loreto Academy. And apparently there's a fun fact. LeMay was appointed bishop of the Santa Fe Diocese in July 29th, 1853. He would later become archbishop in 1875. He dreamed of building a cathedral to go along with the school, and he hired Antoine Molly and his son Projectus from France to build this chapel. And it is located between 2 of the academy buildings. So it's constructed in the Gothic Revival in 1873. Antoine Mollay's site failed and returned to France in 1874, so his son finished the work, who was Projectus. And in 1878, the cathedral was almost done, but Projectus died of pneumonia shortly after the cathedral was nearly done. And the cathedral was left in the hands of the sisters. So dramatic stone arches, stained glass windows from France. It was the first of its kind in the American Southwest. It's breathtaking. It is really pretty, I'm not going to lie. But the choir loft in the back of the church was not accessible because the staircase there had not been completed. And the loft was built 22 feet above the main floor, and an unreliable stepladder was the only way to get up there. So the choir needed a staircase. Well, the choir loft. The choir, I guess, needs it too to, walk up there. And they talked with a bunch of carpenters, and they learned that the construction of the stairs would substantially impede seating in the narrow sanctuary. So the entire chapel was only 25 by 75 feet, and that's not very big for a chapel. And an architecturally sound staircase would take a large chunk out of that space. So the sisters decided to pray because they were in charge of this project. They pray to novena. Oh, they pray a novena. I don't know what that is. I'm not Catholic. I'm sorry. And a 9-day period of prayer and petition to ask God for his grace. They prayed to St. Joseph, the patron of St. Carpenters, which isn't shocking because Joseph was a carpenter and Jesus's father, stepfather, adopted father. I don't know what Joseph technically would be for Jesus in the Bible. I actually never thought about it. And I no longer go to church, so I can't ask. So if anyone knows what that title is, please teach me. So as the story goes, a man arrived at the chapel. As the story goes, a man arrived at the chapel on the final day of their prayer. He was on a donkey and carrying a carpenter's square and some other basic tools. He did not share his name, but he told the sisters he was looking for work. I don't know about you, but that sure sounds a lot like how Jesus entered, was it Nazareth, on Palm Sunday? As time goes on, the more tradition I lose in my head. He ended up working for 6 months, and what would become the Loreto Chapel staircase is what came out of that 6 months. The design did not intrude on the limited seating area of the chapel. His solution was to construct a wooden staircase that ascended from the floor to the chapel, or the floor of the chapel to the choir loft in 2 complete spirals. And he worked alone. So he did all of these stairs apparently by himself. And then when he was done, he just vanished. He just disappeared. Nobody knows where he went. He didn't take payment, and nobody ever saw him again. And they didn't know his name. He never gave his name. So 6 months of working on a staircase, and what did they call him? They would just say, "Hey, you, sir, carpenter man." Like, how would you? I'm thinking too much into this. So after he disappeared, the perplexing nature of the staircase began to amaze the faithful and the skeptics. So, the miraculous staircase. Today, the story of the carpenter has been classified as a legend by those who disbelieve in miracles. But the staircase is still a mystery for many. And the summary of the staircase from the Loreto Chapel is: the stairway confounds architects, engineers, and master craftsmen. It makes over 2 complete 360-degree turns, stands 20 feet tall, and has no center support. It rests solely on its base and against the choir loft. The risers of the 33 steps are all the same height, made of an apparently extinct wood species that is constructed with only square wooden pegs without glue or nails. I mean, the staircase is pretty amazing, not gonna lie, but that is very perplexing. So there's no nails or glue. It's made entirely out of wood and wooden pegs. A metal railing was added in 1887 by Philip August Hesch, and that was nearly 10 years after the staircase was originally completed. And this was at the request of the nuns. And they were said to have often ascended the staircase on their hands and knees because they were scared to fall. So this man-made this man made a staircase, but he didn't put a railing on it. I feel like even for the 1800s, that's just weird, but they got a staircase out of it, and then eventually they got a railing. So there's no central supporting pole, which most staircases that spiral today have these central poles, and it's called a newel, that helps, the stairs, stay up. It's support. It's for stability. And a spiral staircase without that is very rare. And in the 19th century, nobody heard of a staircase without any support. So they are very confused. Apparently, there's no way to improve it. An attempt was made. I can't talk, guys. An attempt was made in the mid-20th century when brackets were added to the sides of the ladder to connect the staircase to the interior pillar. But instead of boosting the structural integrity, the brackets caused damage by preventing a natural spring-like movement of the staircase while in use. The balance, precision, and longevity of the staircase would make it a noteworthy feat, even without any of the backstory. The wood has been confirmed to be from spruce. Spruce is not originally from New Mexico, and an odd choice for a carpenter. And oak and pine would have been more natural choices. So the theories of this Loreto Chapel staircase, and then we'll get back to the mysterious staircases. There are 2 types of explanations for the staircase. Some kind of divine intervention. Was it St. Joseph, the father of Jesus, or was it something else? So the sisters of Loreto believed this was St. Joseph, the father of Jesus. And the sisters knew that Joseph was a carpenter and taught Jesus to do the same work. A mysterious carpenter showed up on the final day of their ninth prayer to St. Joseph. The staircase features 33 stairs, the age of Jesus when he was crucified. And the craftsman worked alone and disappeared once the work was done and did not share his name or take payment. The second type of explanation refuses the possibility of the supernatural. This is the more common view that people believe today, and one held by the master craftsman quoted above, who called the stairs mind-boggling. Those who don't see miracles typically imagine an unknown local craftsman. I mean, that's what I envisioned, but I mean, am I discrediting Saint Joseph? No. But that's just my opinion. So one theory holds is a French transplant named Francois Jean Franck, also known as Frenchy Rojas. I don't know. He was a rancher and sometimes carpenter. And some people believe that he was the one that made the staircase. And historian Mary Jean Cook credits the staircase to this man. Seeing the records from the sisters for a payment to Rojas in 1881 for wood that he provided for the school. So because of those records, they believe that it was this man. But then again, the school is not a chapel, nor does it explain the conviction of the sisters and the craftsman who did not give his name or accept payment. So between these two theories, which one would you pick? People are very confused by this staircase. So there's, the mystery and the supernatural, or there's just a logical explanation. We just don't have it, like, concrete proof of it. So it says, regardless of your perspective on the Loreto Chapel stairs, following Jesus requires believing in miracles. And he offended people in first century Judea and Galilee by claiming to be the Son of God, who was the only way to right relationship with the Father. We all know this. I kind of hope, just because I feel like that's just knowledge. And because of that, he was crucified. So the Roman historian Tacitus called faith in Jesus a pernicious superstition. And apparently his death still causes offense today. That's new to me. I did not know that. Accepting it means believing that we're not good enough for our own to merit favor with God. And so we must trust in him and his sufficient sacrifice for us on the cross so that we might be raised to new life in him. But I just read that, and I don't know how that ties into the stairs. It was labeled mystery of faith. So that's what's in my notes. Yeah, so there's that. So these stairs are a miracle to the nuns and the people of the chapel. And then more logical thinking people, not that the nuns aren't logical. I'm just saying, like, people who don't think supernaturally or believe in miracles think that it was just some random dude or someone that they just didn't have record of and there was no concrete proof of. Those were the only stairs that I could find on a dark priest. But it also says holding some sort of dark intended gathering. So I don't know what dark gathering a priest here was doing because it's not mentioned if there was one. But that is the mystery of the Loreto Chapel stairs. Little bonus lore for you today. So many of these stories about these stairs in the woods are posted on No Sleep. So this is kind of like a social media thing that kind of took off and it became its own urban legend just for the pure fact that so many people are either telling the truth and they've seen these stairs or they just went along with this. And if you don't know what No Sleep is, and I'm not going to lie, it's not that great anymore. I could read that thing for hours back in like 2016. And now I think it's like the moderation now is so strict. It's all crap in my opinion. I know there are a few good stories in there, but a lot of it is just no longer good because of there's so many restrictions. You're not allowed to have parts. You're not allowed to have cliffhangers. It's ridiculous. But No Sleep is a Reddit forum for horror stories that are fictional, and it plays off of the point of view, the writer's point of view, as if it was actually happening. So it feels like a true story, but it's not one. And it's from like a first person perspective a majority of the time. Creepypasta is where everyone should go. Just saying. So, so because of this forum, many people believe these staircases are nothing but creepy fiction. But this took off because there was a man who claimed to be part of search and rescue. And he has 8 parts. He has 8 parts to his story. And I'm going to read a couple of them for you. But they're all still on Reddit as far as I know. I think I just came across it in my research. A couple sites had a couple of stories already on them, so that's what I took. But I did find it, and it's still on Reddit. So you just search for search and rescue stairs in woods. That should bring it up if you want to read all 8 parts. But his username is search and rescue. Yeah, search and rescue woods. That's it. Search and rescue woods. And he launched an interest in the subject, and he presented himself as legit. He also claims to be part of a search and rescue unit. And there's another user that said that she was looking through true stories of the woods or national parks, and he had posted this on there too, so it was in fact presented as true. So he said that running into these is so common that the search and rescue employees don't talk about it. Just about every case, he's out in the wilderness, 30 or 40 miles at some point, they'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. He confessed a fascination that other SAR employees strongly warned him to never go near any of these structures. So, because of this, a lot of evidence comes from anecdotes and stories of no sleep. Some staircases are brick, others are wooden, some are in ruins, others look stable, so on and so forth, that we have gone over. He also had one that seemed to be, that he claimed to be from the point of view of one of his search and rescue friends. And he was talking about one of his colleagues, and he says that one of his colleagues told him that his trainer in his first year, so search and rescue's trainer, in his trainer's first year, as SAR spotted stairs when lagging behind his group in an area that a teen girl and her dog vanished. He said they looked like they came from a new house because the carpet was pristine and white. The only things odd was there was no debris on the steps. No dust, no dirt, no leaves, nothing. There didn't appear to be any signs of animals or insects. He touched the stairs, only feeling that new sticky carpet feeling. I've never felt that. Interesting. He made sure his radio was on and he climbed the stairs. He joked that half of him expected to get abducted by a UFO, but he got to the top of the stairs and he said the longer he stood there, the more he felt that he was doing something wrong. He tried to brush it off, but the feeling got stronger and stronger the more he stood there, and he realized at some point that he couldn't hear anything anymore, not even his own breathing. So like everything just went like dead silent. He climbed back down and he rejoined the search, and he never mentioned what he did. He said the weirdest part was after he was waiting at the welcome center after the search ended for the day, and he cornered another SAR before he could leave. And from the way he was writing this, I'm assuming that this is his trainer's trainer, because then he keeps saying the trainer, he keeps saying the trainer, but it's not his friend / trainer, if that makes any sense. Anyway, apparently he had this look of intense anger, and when his friend asked what was wrong, his trainer said, you went up them, didn't you? And it wasn't a phrase, it was more of a statement. And he asked how he knew. He asked his trainer how he knew, and his trainer shook his head and said, because we didn't find her, the dogs lost her scent. So he's implying that she went up the stairs and just vanished. He asked what that had to do with anything, and his trainer asked how long he was on the stairs, and the reply was no more than a minute. His trainer gave him a dead-eyed look and told him if he ever went up the stairs again, he would be fired immediately, and he's never gotten any answers to his questions. So that is the search and rescue man that posts on Reddit, and there's a few shorter claims as well. So Rick Myling says, when you walk up, they make you feel dizzy and faint. Ed Harris's God said, I did it once and felt fine, but then I got to the parking lot, my car was gone, and when I got home, there was another family in my house. And when I went to the city hall, there was no records of my existence. Still worth it, though. Gypsy 702. There's an urban legend about these. If you find stairs in the middle of the woods like this, don't go up them. The legend goes that if you walk up the stairs, you disappear into a new dimension and go missing from our world forever. And then there was a couple of deleted users. The first one said, I remember watching some YouTube video of someone narrating a park ranger story of creepy things that happened. And that's the park ranger that I just talked to you about. And creepy things that happened in the national parks. Stairs being in the middle of nowhere was one of the stories he told. I remember thinking it sounded so stupidly made up. Turns out it's a real thing that happens to park rangers all the time. Just walking miles into the wilderness and seeing stairs is just chilling. It's like someone is playing a very long and dry prank on people for decades. The other deleted user said, whatever you do, do not walk up it. Just slowly back away from it. Try not to look away for too long while you do. And once it's out of sight, run. And that was in all caps. Some say they see the staircases, and when they looked later, the stairs were gone. All or most are described differently. Jesse V on TikTok said, if you ever see a random staircase in the woods, you have to get away as fast as you can. Never, all caps, climb them. Some people say the stairs lead to another dimension. Other people say it leads to hell. Others say that's why so many people and kids go missing in national parks, because they climb these stairs and they are never seen again. Okay, I'll get to what I'm getting to, okay? So they also have stories from around the world. There's a popular story in the Philippines where a forest ranger was on patrol to look for missing people deep in the local jungle. He claims he found some stone stairs that were really out of place. They even had weird markings on them. He decided to climb up one of them. Just then, he was chased farther up the stairs by a stray dog. A few hours later, he came back to the village. Only thing was, he had been missing for 5 years. Another account goes back to around the time of Roswell in the 40s, a man who claimed to be a disease scientist who assisted in investigating one of the many animal-related cases that kept popping up. The 1 to 2 week investigation ended up being 6 months. The team found a random wooden staircase that seemed to emit some type of frequency. They camped around 100 feet from the staircase that night. And when they woke up, it was gone. It completely vanished. All that was left was a black burn mark where the staircases were. 2 days later, it reappeared 160 feet from its original location. And the team wanted a sample of the wood to send to the lab. But no matter how hard they tried, it was impossible to chip off a piece of wood. Some people claim to see them in various places like New England, Montana, Michigan, and West Virginia, Brazil, Germany, Portugal, Norway, and, like I just said, the Philippines. Some claim to have come across meticulous meticulously kept grave sites near the stairs, and many have pointed out that the stairs are buried deeply in the woods up to 40 miles away from anything resembling civilization. Another user, TK622, came across a set in a forest clearing in Germany. Jeep Dave said they were surprised the stairs are actually so common. He said, I came across a set in rural West Virginia. I don't think it was quite 40 miles deep, but at least 10 or better. I thought maybe a house had once stood there, but there was no cellar or other debris that would indicate a home was there before. Just a set of stairs with a base that went up maybe 16 or so steps. If I remember right, I'm quoting, if I remember right, and it was sturdy, could barely shake them. I didn't climb up, though, worried it might break or fall over, and I was alone. And you don't want to be alone in the woods and then hurt yourself. That would just suck. Taylor Ann Shazam says that they encountered stairs in Michigan. An hour east of Ironwood, there is a clearing in the forest that has stairs. They go on to say, I was hiking and exploring with my cousins, and we stumbled in a clearing about half a football field long. Had a few staircases, but not against trees, just standing in the open. They looked like stairs from a normal suburban home. Kind of old, though. The older cousin that they were with decided to investigate. He walked up the stairs to see how they were being held up, but couldn't find anything, which weirded him out. He made us all leave. Grass didn't grow near their stairs either. Holy Shit Space, a Norwegian Redditor, said, I made an account just to post this comment. A few months back, while visiting Gramps in Lillesand, which is in southern Norway, and I probably pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry, and they went hiking. Nothing big, just a walk and a picnic in some woods. He was with his niece, or they were with their niece and nephew, and they're both quite young. So they go on to say, I joined them in hide and seek so the grown-ups could have coffee and whatnot. They said, me and my nephew were first to hide, but we split up and I ran alone for quite a ways into the woods. And I found a staircase, nothing remarkable, riddled with moss and made what really looked like really old concrete. Sorry, I got interrupted. So, nothing remarkable, riddled with moss and made what really looked like really old concrete with large pebbles of rocks in it. Didn't really seem out of place at the time, but thinking back, ... Anyway, I decided it was fit for a hiding place, but after only a few seconds of squatting behind it, I got up and stepped back. I couldn't shake the feeling that I really shouldn't be anywhere near it. I suddenly had this feeling of being severely unwelcome and that I should get as far away from it as possible. So I ran to my family and didn't look back at it. There are several theories on why and who put them there. So these stairs are just, randomly in places, and nobody has, a plausible explanation other than either it goes to a different dimension, hell, or it was possibly part of a foundation. There is a photo of some stone steps that kind of look a little windy, but there is a picture of a house connected to it, and I can't remember the name of these stairs. They do have an actual name, but those were actually part of a foundation. So a lot of these stairs, I'm thinking, are mostly just fiction, but again, anything is possible, especially in the national forests, and frankly, I am terrified of them, but I will go in them anyway. I live to torture myself. So if you find these stairs, unless you want to go to a different dimension or possibly hell, I wouldn't walk up them. Just some friendly advice. Just, better safe than sorry. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I will be posting the new weekly episode days on Tuesday. And if you go ghost hunting, don't forget the salt. And as always, stay spooky.
Chasing Legends.